The new gods escaped the Nictari and fled to Earth to establish a new home in New Light. But what happened to New Genesis after they left? Karaka-Tor leans forward in his new throne and stares at Graven, the third son of Darkseid. "You and I are like brothers. You understand?" Karaka-Tor says with a nod, explaining that it was when Darkseid invaded his world that he was truly born. His world was left a hollow husk, and when the Nictari arrived, they could offer no resistance. A boy was taken to the Dusk Mother and transformed, made into a powerful warrior and leader, and anointed Karaka-Tor. Graven says nothing and merely stares at the warrior king. But Ator doesn't allow this to bother him. Sertuin has fallen, but no one is allowed to escape the Nictari, Ator says, ordering Graven to lead the Nictari ships and hunt down the surviving members of the New Gods. "Pursue them like the darkness. Be persistent. Be relentless," Karaka-Tor orders. Meanwhile, in the remains of the once proud city, a lone Green Lantern moves cautiously, avoiding the Nictari patrols flying overhead. He stops at a communications hub and pulls out his ring, using the hub and the ring to boost a signal past the Nictari blockade. "Lanterns, if you can hear me, this is Raker Karigat of the Wolsoon system. To any and all who can hear me, be warned," Raker says, explaining that the Nictari have been sending out scouting parties and are hunting down the refugees from New Genesis. "The Nictari are a formidable," Raker begins to warn, but his message is interrupted as Nictari forces step through the rubble and surround him.
"So, it is you who has been interfering with our communications. The Dean will want to know what you've been up to,"
their goblin-like leader hisses. He orders his forces to attack. Blaster fire rips through the clearing, but Raker throws up a construct shield to take the blast. He whirls a construct sickle and chain around himself, slashing through the alien forces, but the Nictari are too many, pushing through and bringing him to the ground. Green willpower pulses off Raker, knocking them away as he lets out a war cry. He gets to his feet and realizes that he isn't fighting alone.
"I knew I was watching a Green Lantern all this while, but I did not expect to see the Green Flame himself,"
Forager notes as he knocks the last soldier to the ground. He turns and introduces Kida, his insect-like companion.
"These are dangerous lands for a lantern these days,"
Forager says, explaining that the bugs have been able to keep themselves well hidden. Raker nods as he pulls back on his cloak, explaining that he has been watching the Nictari patrols leaving and using his ring with the communication hubs to try and get a signal outside the system, though he is unsure if it has worked. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the New Genesis refugees bow before Orion and offer him the crooked staff. "We of the War Council call upon you to take the mantle now, to take a name of your choosing, and guide the destiny of your people," Akala offers. Orion bows his head in honor. "I accept this honor and answer its call. I take the name Oathmaker," he tells them, but his hands tighten into a fist and he turns away. "But I will not call myself Highfather, nor will I lay a hand upon that hallowed staff. Not until I have heard my father's voice telling me I am ready," Orion tells them. Nearby, Sarapin and Kamal watch. "Never thought the big lug was capable of so much talk, but he doesn't sound half bad, does he?" Sarapin notes with a smile. Kamal looks up at him with wide eyes. "He says I'm one of you. A god," the young boy notes. Sarapin smiles down at him. "Does he now? Well, let me tell you something about gods. We were made before civilized time, Sarapin says, explaining that one would think that gods rule through wisdom and honor, but the truth is, they are selfish. He reaches out a hand and puts it on the boy's shoulder. I know it's hard to hear, but you're the shiny new thing, Sarapin tells him. Kamal shakes his head, explaining that Mr. Miracle protected him and his family. Sarapin nods. I don't blame you if you don't believe me, kiddo, but you should ask Scott what they did to him when he was a kid. Ask him why he's called scot-free, Sarapin says as he motions to Scott and Barda nearby with their daughter. Sarapin turns to walk away. Anyway, if you need a real friend amid all this, you can always come talk to old Sarapin, he calls over his shoulder. Meanwhile, back in the ruins of Sir Tuin, Raker, Forager, and Kida have snuck into the Mother Box complex. They move deeper into the facility, making use of the bugs native to the planet to handle the guards, and Forager is in awe of the Mother Box. Mother is still alive, Forager whispers softly. He turns back to Raker, explaining that Mother has brought them here so that he can warn the others of the approaching Nyctari. Raker steps forward and places his ring against the Great Mother Box. If we are to free New Genesis from the Nyctari, the power we will need to defeat them is on Earth, Forager whispers. Meanwhile, on the Justice League watchtower, John Stewart suddenly screams in pain. He turns to find Hal entering the watchtower, having also felt the distress signal. It was a message from a lantern. It was a warning. The Nictari are coming to Earth, John gasps. The heroes quickly warn the New Genesis refugees, and Orion calls together his war council. The Nictari are coming. It is the perfect opportunity for us to fight back and use our newfound weapon, Orion tells the others, but Scott shakes his head. He is only a child, Orion, he reminds his new leader. Orion nods sadly. So were you, as was I. He will do what is needed of him, he whispers. Scott nods sadly and steps from the chamber, seeking out Kamal. But the boy doesn't understand. I don't want to fight. I only want to keep my mother and father safe. You said you would protect me, Kamal tells him. Scott reaches up and pulls off his mask, revealing the sadness in his eyes. And I will, Kamal. I promise. But you can't run away from who you are, he says. But Kamal springs up, shouting that Scott is a liar and running away. He heads into the woods, where he happens to run into Sarapin. The cowboy leans against a tree and smiles. I don't want to go away and fight. I just want to stay with my mom and dad. They can't make me, Kamal shouts. Sarapin nods and stands, promising to get Kamal and his parents to safety. He reaches down and draws his revolver. You just have to hold still and don't fight back. This won't hurt a bit, Sarapin says as he aims his weapon. Bang, he whispers. Kamal is suddenly pulled into the darkness, disappearing and falling to the ground as a bullet. Sarapin picks up the round and holsters his pistol with a twirl. He starts to whistle again before disappearing into the woods. Later, he steps from a boom tube into the secret lair of Maxwell Lord, who awaits his arrival with the refugees of Apocalypse. The lone cowboy returns with his promised bounty, Lord calls with a smile. Sarapin holds out the bullet that has captured Kamal as he looks around at the enemies of New Genesis. You neglected to mention your new circle of friends, Lord, he grumbles. But Lord smiles and points out that New Genesis and Apocalypse have a common enemy now. We are all united in a renewed purpose, he whispers. Sarapin shrugs and transforms the bullet back into Kamal. The young boy stares around the room in fear. Don't forget what he's capable of when he gets nervous, Sarapin reminds him. But Lord shakes his head. as he looks into Kamal's eyes. "Leave that to me. I'm great with children," he whispers as he reaches out with his powers. Now, young man. Calm down and listen to my voice. Everything is going to be all right," Lord says softly. Kamal struggles for a moment as fear begins to overwhelm him, but suddenly his eyes go blank as Lord overtakes his mind. And that was the complete story for The New Gods, issue 9 by Ram V. The start of a new arc, The Edge of Darkness. The Nictari have not dropped the New Gods from their sights and are set on hunting them down. What'll happen next? We'll just have to wait until next time. But let me know what you thought about today's video in the comments below. And like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and want to get notified for new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.